What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the workshop. Now in this video we're going to take a look at my new pocket hole jig. So it's a slight review and just give you guys a quick look through it. Maybe you're in the market for a pocket hole jig and maybe this one is for you. You would have seen me use this in my previous project where I've added drawers to this MFT table. Did all that with pocket holes, and it's quite a good jig indeed. So I said I would give you guys a quick look. So it's the Trend Pocket Hole Pro. I have it mounted to a board here, but I'll take you through all that now in a second. This is also the Massca pocket hole jig. There is absolutely no difference. They're identical. The only difference is the branding on it. So yeah, without further ado, let's have a look. Let's get my table back in position. Right about there, and then we'll take a look at this jig. Okay, so now that everything is in place, without further ado, let's jump in. I'll give you a close-up of this and we'll have a look exactly what comes in the box. So let's do it. Okay, so there you can see the one that we're dealing with. This is the Trend Pro Pocket Hole Jig, and this is the box it comes in. And like I said already, this is the Massca. There's absolutely no difference other than the name that's on the jig itself. So in the box, we get the jig, we get the two bars, we get the two material supports, which are also the stops. You get the square drive bit, you get the pocket hole bit with the depth stop collar, and you also get a nice bag to hold it all in, which doesn't come with the Massca, but does come with the Trend. Don't know why, they're the same exact jig, but yeah, let's have a look at the actual pieces themselves. Okay, so here's the actual jig. Now I'll take you through all this and how it all operates in a second, but just give you a quick overview of what comes in the box. So there's the jig, there's your two bars, they just slot in there. Two Allen screws hold them in place. Here are your material supports, which can be used as either a stop. So you have a brass knurled nut here, a grub screw that tightens against the bar, that locks that in place, so you can set it as a material stop left or right, or you can just have it as material support. So you can just have it like an outrigger that will support the material out here. However, it's not lockable in place once you have it this way. It's only lockable when you're using it as a stop, and like I said, that works left and right, which is nice. And it's all made of metal. It's all metal parts, all made of aluminum. Here is the bag. It's quite a nice bag. It's kind of like one of those semi-rigid bags. There you go, there's the bit, there's the square drive bit here. You also get the clamp in the box, and that's exactly the same as the one that comes with the Massca. And then they give you a bunch of pocket hole screws to test out, so just a few of each different type. It also comes with this metal plate, which I'll show you what that's for now in a little while. And you get the turret for setting the depth stop on the drill bit. So let's have a look at the jig and I'll show you how all this works. Okay, let's start with the back of the jig. This is the guide block for taking your drill bit. Now I should just mention there's also a long Allen key with this, and it fits all the Allen keys on it. So you just need the one key, does everything, which is nice. So here's our guide block, and we've got two brass screws either side, just thumb screws. And you can see we have a depth measurement here, so different thicknesses of material that you're working with. And it's also in metric and imperial, which is quite nice. And any of you guys who've watched the review of the Massca, now you will see it's identical. The only difference is it says Massca here, where it says Trend on this one. And it's nice and easy to adjust. So if I wanted to go to 19 millimeters, set it at 19 millimeters, there we go. That's 3/4. There's 1 inch, 25.4, again very simple, up to 32, 38 mil. And you could actually take this out to 45 mil if you wanted. You could actually do 4x2s or 2x4s. It's just a little bit of tweaking and setting up, but it is actually capable of doing that. So that's how the back part works. Now you can also see it has a vacuum attachment, and this can be moved to either face left or to the right. It's just a case of two Allen screws here. There's the Allen screw for tightening in your bar. So nice and simple. And this is also removable, and you can use it as a separate jig, which I shall show you before the video is out. Now let's look at the front. Okay, very quickly, just looking at the front of the jig, then you can see we also have a quick reference here in imperial and in metric, and that's just for quickly referencing the thickness of our material. So there's some 19 mil or 3/4 inch. You see that's perfect. Here's some 1/2 inch or some 12.7. You can see, there you go, you can see exactly what you're working with. And if you have a piece that you're not exactly sure, so here's a piece of sapele. I'm not exactly sure what this is, so that looks like it is 25.4 or just over 1 inch in thickness. So it gives you a quick reference, so it's easy to set the back of the jig to match that there. So nice and handy, it couldn't be simpler. Now let me show you the depth gauge for setting up the drill bit. Okay, so here's the little turret that comes with it for setting the depth collar on the drill bit. So you can see you have both your metric and imperial measurements on this as well. So this little guy just sits in here, and this is how you set up your depth stop. So let me briefly run you through that. Now that you've seen everything in close up, I'll zoom out a little bit and I'll show you how quick it is to set this up. Okay, so now that you've seen all the measurements and components on this, let me just show you how quick and easy it is to set up. So let's take this piece. We know it's 19 mil, but let's say we didn't. We can just drop it there. Okay, I can see that's 3/4 of an inch or 19 millimeters in thickness. Now let's set up our bit to drill that. So I'm going to set this guy, so it's just a case of raise him up to 19 millimeters or 3/4 of an inch and lock it down. And when that locks in, that really locks in. There's no movement in that whatsoever, which is nice. Now, in order to set our drill depth or the collar for our drill, we just drop this guy in place in that little hole there. We swing it around to 19 millimeters, drop our drill bit onto it, drop on our stop collar or our depth collar. And again, it's the one Allen key that does everything, so that just tightens down there. And there we are, ready to go. So it's a case of put our piece in. We can line it up with our marks here. So we have a center mark, and we also have a center of the 2 pocket holes marks here and down below. So in order to just set the clamp, it's just a screw, nice and simple, and it has a lock nut on it as well. Lock that in place, and now we are ready to go. So it's nice and quick and easy. Now we can do all our drilling at 19 millimeters, and it's fairly quick and easy to swap between the different thicknesses. And if we needed to set up a repeatable piece, we want to set a depth stop, put that guy to the edge and lock it down. Now it's just a case of every single piece that we put in, we can set it up to our stop, lock it in place and just keep drilling. And that stop, like I said, works left and right, which is quite nice. Okay guys, so there you go. That's how quick and easy it is to set up this jig. Very, very simple and very, very quick, and it's easy to move between thicknesses as well, so there's not much to it. Now, nice thing about it, like I said already, it's all made of metal, so it's 100% aluminium. It's nice and solid. I did contemplate a few other jigs that are on the market, so Craig would be one of the biggest, but it seems a bit plastic-tastic, especially the new Craig jig. It doesn't have great reviews. This got pretty good reviews, and like I said, it's completely made of metal and it's very robust and it's nice and simple, quick and easy to use. There's no gimmicks with it, which is what I like. It's just basic and simple, and it works, and that's the best way to have a tool, in my opinion. A good engineered tool is always nice and simple and well made, and it's nice that it comes with the bag and to keep everything in. The only criticism I would have maybe is this little turret for setting the depth of the drill bit, the depth stop on the drill bit. If you lose that, you're kind of in trouble. So like I said, it's nice to have the bag just to keep everything together. I don't know why it doesn't come with the Massca. It does with the Trend, so you know, you can pick and choose. I know the Massca and Trend are both available in the UK. I'm not sure about Ireland for the Massca, but I'm not sure about the US market for Trend, but I know definitely the Massca version of this is available in the US because I've seen a bunch of American YouTubers review that system. So I know some Trend products are available over there, so maybe you can get the Trend version and get the bag, which is nice. So let's get on and I'll show you this in operation now. Okay, just setting it up to use it then. You can see I have my one mounted to a board. Now I just did that for the extra stability, and it also, I can use this as a place to hang up my jig as well. So I've just 2 handholds cutting it, and it sits on the end of my MFT table in that little alcove that you saw at the start of the video. So it's very easy just to come along and just put a couple of clamps on this and just clamp that to the table, and it's nice and solid. Now I should also point out that this jig has a T-track that runs the full length of the jig front to back. You guys can just see it there, and you can just take a T-track clamp, slot that in there, and you can use that then for clamping your jig to your workbench or to whatever you want. If you don't want to carry it on a board and you want to keep it nice and mobile and in the bag, maybe you're doing a lot of work out on site or whatever, and you want to just put this away, you can just take a T-track clamp with you and you can clamp it to anything you have or happen to have on site, which is nice. And like I said, because it's made of metal, it's good and strong, and you really do get a good lockdown on this, which is nice. Now, let's get some dust extraction going on this. We'll drill a few pocket hole jigs. There's not much more to it than that, and I'll just show you guys in operation. Okay, a quick demonstration. So we're just going to take this piece of 19mm plywood. So we're already set up to do this. 19mm or 3/4 of an inch. Lock it in place. Dust extraction in. We're good to go. So make a bit of noise now. I'm going to turn on my dust extraction. There we go. So just like that. So you can see there's not a speck of dust anywhere, nothing came out with the drill bit, so the dust extraction on it is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and you're not generating fine dust with these things anyway, so you just want to keep some of the mess away and keep the workshop tidy. And I always find a kind of pecking motion with the drill bit, so that kind of up and down, don't drill all the way, drill a small bit, release the bit, just to clear out any waste. It gives you a cleaner cut. So that's it, nice and simple. Now let me give you a quick look at these, because one thing I am getting is a slight bit of tear out on one side. It's not the end of the world, but it's pretty easy clean up. Well, let me get you a close up and you can see for yourselves. Okay, so there's the 2 holes we just drilled, so you can see there's some fraying to the right hand side every single time, and that's just a bit. I've seen a couple of reviews, guys are getting the same thing, but it's very easy just to break that off and clean it up. It's literally just a little run of the chisel, and like pocket holes are all hidden anyway. They're not exactly something that you see as a feature. They're designed to be hidden, so it's not the end of the world. I'm assuming it's an issue with the bit, not the jig, because I see a bunch of people with the same issue. You get a nice clean cut on one side and it just seems to tear out on the other. But like I said, it's not too big a deal to break it off and clean it up. It's just a bit of a frayed edge. So there you go. That's what you're looking at. Okay, so very quickly, and if we just wanted to join these 2 pieces of 19mm plywood, we can do that with the pocket hole jigs now. So you can see the hole that it drills. It drills a hole for your screw to sit down, and then you have a kind of a flat section with a pilot hole that continues on. And that's what the bit is designed to do. It gives you a bit of a pilot hole for your screw to go down, and then it cuts a flat section for these pocket hole screws. So these are pan head screws. You can see underneath the head, it's flat. It's not like a traditional wood screw, which would be kind of V-shaped. These are actually flat underneath, and they're designed to sit on this flat section here, so it doesn't drive down into the timber and blow out the pocket. It sits flat against that flat piece right there and pulls everything nice and tight. Now, very quickly, I'll just screw this together. I'm not using any clamps or anything like that. This is not a kind of how to pocket hole video. It's just a demonstration, a very quick demonstration on the trend jig. So square drive bit in the drill. Just drive that down, just like that, cinch it down, and it gets a serious grip. Now, like I said, I'm not clamping this, so I'm not trying to be super accurate. I just want to demonstrate this in action. Again, we get the second one in and lock that in place. Now, that gets a serious strong joint. They're very impressive, I have to say, these pocket holes. They work really well, and it's a nice and quick way to assemble anything. So there you go, you see the 2 screws sitting down inside in there now, and that's these 2 pieces joined at 90 degrees. Okay, so that's a very quick demonstration of the jig in action. You can see just how nice and simple and easy this thing is to use. Now, it has one more feature that I really like, and that's this piece is removable. So this is the guide for your pocket hole drill bit. Like I say, this is removable, and now we can adapt this to be used by itself without the jig. So we have some bit of disassembling to do now. So let me get you in for a closer look, and I'll show you exactly how you do this. Okay, so like I said, we can adapt this to be used independently from the jig. So let's just say you've done all your pocket holes, you're assembling your large carcass, and you realize you've missed a couple of pocket holes. Oh, what are you going to do? You can't put it back in the jig, but you can use this guy. Or let's say you've done all your work in the workshop, you're now out on site, and you want to take this guy with you just in case you need to add an extra pocket hole here or there. Well, you can do this. Now, it's a little bit of a faff to do this. It's not how I intend on using it. I'm going to keep mine permanently mounted to the board and use it as the jig is, because I'm in my workshop. But it's nice to have this feature. So it's just a case of pull off the vacuum shroud that goes on the back of this, or the vacuum attachment. And again, it's the same Allen key for everything. This does the whole lot. Now I got to take, I'm just going to pull out my 2 arms. That's just a case of loosening those 2 Allen screws there. Now I need to pull my jig off the board, because I need to take off these 2 brackets and reattach them. So again, like I said, this is a little bit of a faff, but it's not something I'm going to be doing on a regular basis. So flip it over. We've got 4 Allen bolts here that we need to take out, and then we can reattach these guys using the plate that I showed you at the start of the video. And I'll show you how to put this on now, because there's a certain orientation that has to go in. So it's nice and simple. Again, same Allen key for everything. Okay, there we go. That's these guys off now. Slide these up into our jig, just like that. Now, screw on our base plate. Now these holes are offset to one direction, so we want to make sure that we keep the offset side towards our measurement side, so that we have a slight overhang onto the side that the pocket hole drill bit comes out. So it's only a case I just reattach this guy with the exact same 4 bolts. Nice and simple. Okay, there we go. That's that assembled, and you can see we have a little lip on here now. I'll show you exactly what that's for. But now we can use this jig independently of the main body. Okay, now that we have our piece removed, like I said, we can use this as an independent jig. We just use the overhang here to catch the edge of our piece. Now let's say I wanted to replicate these 2 holes in a piece of 19mm or 3/4 inch plywood. It's just a case of put that guy on there, set this again to 19mm or 3/4 of an inch. I would tighten those guys down just like that, take a clamp that, and then drill it, and that will give me those 2 pocket holes again. So you can see it's a nice little another way of using the jig. It's kind of a mobile version of the jig. The only issue I have with this is once you bring this with you, now how do you set the depth for your drill bit? That's the interesting question, because now this guy does not work with it. So maybe you have to preset it before you disassemble, which is a bit of a shame. It doesn't tell you how to do it in the instructions, so your guess is as good as mine. Okay guys, there we go. That's the jig back reassemble again. Now that's a bit of a faff to do that, so that's a bit of a downside to this thing. And like I said, once you take this off and adapt it to be used on its own, then how do you set the depth of your depth stop for your drill bit? I'm not sure. The only way I can think of doing it is get a scrap piece, do a test drill, and set it that way if you're out on site and you haven't brought the actual jig with you. Other than that, it's a case of preset the bit, then disassemble. That's not a great idea. It's the one big negative that I have with this particular jig. And like I said, in the instruction manual, it doesn't tell you how to adjust the depth of this bit once you remove this section from it, as far as I can see. So there you go. That is what it is. Now, last thing to demonstrate is the clamp that comes with it. It's just one of those flat vice grip type clamps. I'll show you exactly what that's for now. Okay, very quickly, last but not least, here's the clamp that comes with it. Now it seems to be nicely made, good and solid, good and robust. Not too much to say about these. They're just a vice grips flat clamp. So what do you use these for? Well, so let's say I wanted to pocket hole 2 pieces of material this way, flat. So rather than sticking them together perpendicular like that, I want them flat like this. Well, I can just catch this guy, set your thickness, and just clamp the 2 of them like that. Now the 2 of them are held perfectly flat, so that's perfectly flush with the other piece, both sides. As you can see, it has a nice flat clamp, and now we can just pocket hole that. So that's exactly what they are for. It's for holding 2 pieces of material, the same thickness, perfectly flush with one another, and you can just screw away. Happy days, nice and simple. And like I said, this is the exact same clamp that comes with the Massca as well. No difference. Same factory, same place. Okay guys, so there we go. That's been a quick demonstration slash overview, not quite an in-depth review or how to do pocket hole jigs, but that's just a quick look at my new pocket hole jig, the Trend Pocket or Pro Pocket Hole Jig, also known as the Massca jig. So hopefully you've enjoyed that, and hopefully you found it useful, and especially if you're in the market for a pocket hole jig, you might consider this one. Why did I go for this particular one? Well, I liked the idea of it, the simplicity of it. I like the fact that it was all metal. It is nice and simple to use. It's very robust. It's really well made. Is it perfect? No, it has a few issues. I've just demonstrated them to you. If to set this guy up on his own is a bit of a faff, especially if you've mounted this thing to a board. Like I said, it's not going to affect me too much because I don't intend on using it that way a whole lot. But if you do intend on chopping and changing between the actual jig and having this guy mobile, maybe this mightn't be for you. But if you are looking for a good quality solid rig, then definitely check this guy out. And like I said, this is the Massca. The only difference I can see is that the Massca doesn't come with the bag. The Trend does. The bag is nice and handy because you can save all your bits, and it helps you stop losing things, I suppose. So check the price. I know that both of them are available in the UK. I think the Trend is only available in Ireland. I'm not sure about the US, whether the Massca and Trend are both available over there, but just do a quick bit of Googling, guys, and you should find that out fairly quick. And like I say, if they're similarly priced or if they're the same price, price, then get the trend because you get the bag. And like I said, they're the exact same. There's no difference out of the same factory. It's just a different name on the product. So that's it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed that one. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, think about subscribing. Comments and questions below. Anything you want to ask, just get in the comment section. Anything I've left out, anything you guys have spotted, anything you like, anything you don't like about this, what pocket hole jigs you use, recommend what you use to the other guys in the comment section and help everybody out. It's a good way to, you know, share some information, I suppose. So that's it, guys. That's my one. I'm going to get out of here now. Thanks as always to everybody over on Patreon who continue to support the channel. It is very much appreciated, guys. And links to everything as always will be below. So get down in the description section if you want to find anything out. It should all be there. Now, it's unbelievably hot today in this shed. I'm a ginger-haired Irishman and I'm not used to the heat, so I'm starting to melt. So I'm going to get out of here now and I shall see you in the next one, guys. Take it easy.